Okay, guys, Joker the Fool here, and welcome to Poll Review. So hopefully, I've recorded this like 2 times before, and I wasn't able to get a good recording out of these either two, so hopefully, I'm going to be back at it again with the second daily poll, and I'm going to do it right this time. The first poll review was 1 through 7. This will be 8 through 14, and I'm going to go through each daily poll, look over the results, and why I chose to do, the daily poll, and go through your replies. So without further ado, let's start with daily poll number 8. If you bought a Switch, when did you buy it? And I did this to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the Switch. And most people said that they bought it on launch day. The second most popular one after that was, I don't own a Switch, but I want to get one. And then, then an equal amount of people bought one in 2017, 2018. Merlin's got the most interesting answer. He bought it, played Zelda, sold it to a friend when they were out of stock, and then got another one later because the only game worth playing at launch was Zelda. And that's definitely pretty agreeable. So the way Merlin went about it, I think, was a good way. Yeah, he says, I don't want to play a game where you sniff cheese and pull on cow nipples, which is talking about 1-2 Switch, which, yeah, I didn't buy 1-2 Switch. Nintendo made 1-2 Switch thinking it was going to be Wii. Well, I mean, they made it to try and, replace Wii Sports, but nothing could replace Wii Sports. If they poured a Wii Sports on the Switch, I think a lot of people would buy into that. So Ragnarok says got it as a gift for his wife. Played 2 hours of Breath of the Wild. Got Smash Brothers. Played that for 100 hours, and then they primarily play on PC, so it was fun while it lasted. So there's tons of good Switch games. I'd look into going onto the eShop or just checking it out because there's a lot of good stuff for the Switch. Twitch didn't vote. Doesn't own a Switch, but he may buy one. So I'd recommend picking one up. There's a bunch of good games, but you could also spend the money that you would spend on a Switch on different games, so it's really up to you. Aaron says doesn't have one, but he's been thinking about buying one for a long time. Serena Beach, pretty active in the daily poll, says got on launch day like a sheep. And then Balta says he got it day one. His first owned Nintendo console, and the first one, and I'm assuming first console since the Mega Drive. Mega Drive is the Sega Genesis over here in the States. Saw it on Facebook. Really liked it. It's got 100 games and nearly stopped playing on PC. Irritable Squid, didn't get it. Was given as a gift. And let's see. Yeah, Thomas got it on launch day. No way wouldn't get his hands on Breath of the Wild as soon as possible. Azran doesn't want one. Needs to get something that interests him. Bayo 2, so he'll probably get one for Bayonetta 3 and Fire Emblem. So, yeah, Bayonetta 3 is probably going to be a great game. I have Bayonetta 1 and 2, and I love both of those games. But moving on to number 9, daily poll number 9 is, do you buy physical games or digital games? And I did this just because digital is becoming so prevalent in the gaming industry. I wanted to see, just how prevalent it is, and this is a really boring poll, to be honest, and pretty bloated in terms of options. So a good amount of people only buy digital, very few people only buy physical. 39 people buy more digital than physical games, that's me. 36 buy more physical than digital, and then 17 buy an equal amount of digital and physical, and then a few people pirate games, and a few people aren't interested in owning games at all. So Twitch buys digital on PC, and then physical for his handhelds. Blue Wizard pirated and still pirates his game since he's living in a country where you just can't buy official PC games. Buys physical games on his console, and whenever there's a special limited edition for a game, he'll buy it. So seems like he pirates PC games because I guess most PC games are digital, and you just can't afford to do it with the internet in his country, which is unfortunate. I think that's a way of a lot of countries. But I'm from America, so I wouldn't know about that. If you know about that, then leave it in the comments below and inform my ignorant self. So Irritable Squid, active in the poll, says He would say it's equal for me, physical for console, digital for PC. Chompy says, I feel like I actually own the game buying physical copies. Yeah, well, me too. I like getting games in boxes and, holding the box and looking at the box art and reading through it. And back in the day, reading through game manual. Oh, I wouldn't read through game manuals. It was just to like flip through it and, actually have something like that is massively cool. So, Turnic Man 228, where he lives, physical games are prior to releases in a better package. Major ripoff. So Balta says he pirated games on PC, felt the console market was too expensive, and then he talks about he got a Switch and bought digital games for convenience. But after some games have burned, because he got games that he didn't play after months or even years at this point that he can't trade in. That's the big one. Started buying mostly physical. While if something is only digital, I don't have an issue on buying it. So basically, got burned by getting some digital games he didn't like and not being able to trade them in, so he bought physical because you can resell physical games, which is a big advantage. I think, one of my little amiibo fell. I had to put that up there. Sorry about that. So Bolton makes a good point that you can't trade in digital games. You can refund some digital games, but basically only Steam games. You try. GOG's got a really bad refund policy. That's probably that's one of the few anti-consumer things about GOG is their refund policy. Origin, they have a refund policy, but EA is very stingy about letting you refund games because they're EA and they want all the money, and they'll be damned if they'll give you some money back easily. Pliskin Zanzibar, he only buys digital games when it's a game local to Walmart. Oh, when it's a game that is local, Walmart won't have it. So I'm assuming if it's like, I guess if it's an obscure retro game or it's like collector's edition, that'll be hard to get. Oh no, wait, I got that wrong. He says only buy digital when it's a game his local Walmart won't have. So he'll only buy digital. He'll only buy digital if he's forced to buy digital, is what I'm assuming he's saying. Yeah. So this one is pretty boring, pretty much expected. But Daily Pull 10 is pre-orders, and I did a pre-orders because I did a Daily Pull on pre-orders because I figured I'd ask people about if they pre-order games because it's something that the industry has pushed for a while, and it's really important in the industry. And I figure with how much it's been pushed and how much it's been talked about, because I think when Battlefield 5 was before its release, pre-order numbers were talked about, how they were a lot lower than Black Ops 4's pre-order numbers, and how that was a huge thing. So I want to see how big is the section, how big is the piece of the pie of people who pre-order games. So most people, 57%, they don't pre-order games. Very few people will pre-order every game that they can, and then about 38% only pre-order games from developers and publishers that they trust. Beowulf says never pre-order, but Developer X, I said never pre-order. Mad Mummy's like, trying to stop me, and Merlin just pre-ordered 5 games thanks to Beowulf's comment. So fifth option from Mad Mummy is I pre-order games when I'm confident about them. Doesn't matter who the developer or publisher. It's case by case for them, which is a pretty fair thing, and would have been a better way to state that poll option. I only pre-order a game, not develop. I only pre-order a game if I'm confident about it. So Balta 666 says he's with Mad Mummy. So he won't pre-order games in general, but if the game appears to be good a few days before its launch, I may do it in the end. So Twitch's comment, this is a long one, but this paragraph here is basically talking about when Ocarina of Time came out, and talking about back in the day, like 20 or so years ago, at this point, saying it made sense to pre-order games because you had to do it or else you wouldn't be able to get a copy of the game when it launched. But now with digital and just the amount of physical copies that are printed, it doesn't really make sense to pre-order games anymore in those sorts of terms. So if it's a limited release of a physical copy from a trusted source and expect to be in high demand, pre-order it. But if it's a publisher contrived reason, like early play options, Ubisoft is doing this EA doesn't do it with pre-orders; they do it with their Origin Access, exclusive skins, etc. They get your money before the game's even been finished. Don't pre-order. So yeah, so the first game that had that really had a publisher contrived reason to pre-order games was Evolve. Evolve came out in 2015, I think, and that game came out for $60 and a bunch of microtransactions and a season's pass, and it didn't really have much of a community. It had to go free to play, but when it was first revealed, they had they had pre-orders available and pre-order bonuses before they even had gameplay to show to people. So, from the get-go, people were really confident in that game. So, Pliskin says he never buys a game, never buy a game until 2 days after it's released. So he has enough time to get first impressions and read reviews, which is very fair. Murray's pretty active in the daily polls. He'll only pre-order games from developers and publishers I trust. It's very rare for him. It's closer to I don't pre-order games at all. Bella Desir says she says that the poll option would benefit from I don't pre-order games. That'd be the one as she would have selected. I have an option that says I don't pre-order games at all, which I think is the same exact thing. So I don't know. And then this is Jack of Tears' comment. He's pretty active in the daily polls, and he says that, if it's a company that he trusts and releases good games and treats the community well, he'll have that company will have his trust going forward. But if the company does something bad to lose his trust, then the company has to work extra hard for him to justify, I guess, even buying games or pre-ordering them. So that's you have to be a huge force to get a really good demo to pre-order, like an Anthem or a Dragon Age. So essentially pre-ordering games, but there needs to be a big relationship between not only in terms of them making good games, but how they treat the community, which I think which is a really fair take from Jack of Tears. So Thomas says, if you trust the company and it looks good, he'll pre-order it. The problem with pre-orders is that people buy in the hype without knowing the development state of what they are getting, which is pretty true. But the problem with that is that a lot of developers will offer pre-orders when they don't really have much to show. I wouldn't say developer, but publishers will let you pre-order first, and then they will develop the game later. So they want your money now. They want the money before they even make anything. That's the reason why Microsoft is putting all the first-party stuff on Game Pass. So that way you're just paying consistently every month, and they don't really have to, develop games. Or they do, or else they'll stop paying it for it. But they want your money without having to do anything, and they want it consistently. They want consistent revenue, and subscription services are the way to do that. And pre-orders are definitely the way. Pre-orders are the precursor to big publishers getting your money before they had to do much work at all, and subscription services are sort of the evolution of that, I would say. So Garrett brings up a good point. The poll is missing the option I pre-order, but it's only if I've had access to the demo first. So Baron says he doesn't like this poll because he thinks it's marketing research and it's not about games. Well, I think this one is not about a specific game, but it's about I'm just asking the community if they pre-order games because I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, and since pre-orders are pushed by the industry, I want to see if gamers actually pre-order games, and that's the why. So everything I'm doing is trying to make discussion about games by gamers, and pre-ordering relates to the industry. I figure I would do a Bailey poll about it, but I definitely think asking gamers about games is definitely the way to go. But there are certainly things that are more not necessarily game related, but more industry related that I think are really I think will generate really interesting threads. So I want to do those as well. So I think it's a balance, Baron, that I need to find. I don't want to do polls that are just explicitly about games, but I also want to do some polls that are industry stuff. So if you watch this video, Baron, What suggestions do you have for poll topics that are explicitly about games? Because I'd be interested. And if anyone has any suggestion for poll topics, leave them, because I have to. Well, I don't have to, but I'm doing this series every day, so it's hard to come up with topics sometimes, you know. But I do it. Let's see. So this one is the 11th daily poll, and it's asking if you use the Epic Store. Now, I want to redo this poll, and I want to make it, have you bought games from the Epic Store? Because the way I phrased this was a bit, the way I phrased this wasn't in a way that would get a lot of definitive information, I think. But this one was a pretty definitive. People play games not on Epic, or they play on games on several clients, including Epic, which is me. I got the Epic client to try Fortnite and mess with the Unreal Engine, and then when the store launched, I got it for the free games, and I play Subnautica the most. So Ethan Saito says, one is his friends installed the Epic launcher on his computer so he could play Fortnite. Forgot to delete until recently. And then why is I don't play games at all an option? Soltor says, I play games on PC, don't use the third-party launchers, which he thinks are scummy and are just disguising themselves as a storefront, which is a pretty scathing take. But I think GOG is pretty good. Uplay isn't the best, but technically, it's basically a place where Ubisoft sell their own games, and the same thing with Origin, so I can't necessarily blame those services for doing that. Bethesda has their Bethesda.net, which they're seemingly pulling away from, and they're putting Doom Eternal on Steam, which I'm so happy for. That made me so much more hyped for Doom Eternal. So Ethan Saito made that post I read out before, and I sort of memed on it. It says, "Oh, I thought you only came in for the daily polls because in the last one, the last poll review, I should say, I respond in the last poll review, he said, I don't buy games, and you don't buy games, and Ethan Saito says he doesn't vote on them. So it might be the thread that he's talking about, the one I talked about in my last video. Let's see. So Irritable Squid says he doesn't use the Epic Game Store, doesn't have anything interested in yet. Might use it for the future if it becomes a good competitor to Steam. Right now, it's not. I definitely agree, Irritable Squid. I could make a whole video, and I would just title it Epic Store is a cash grab, and I could make a really good case, but it's an easy video to make. But I still want to make it since I'm very angry at the Epic Store and Tim Sweeney in general. So Layran says it's downloading the store to pick up the free games without actually buying anything count. And you see, this comment is the reason why I want to do the daily poll. Because I want to ask people, have you actually bought have you bought anything from the Epic Store? So, and I might actually make it today's daily poll. I might actually do that. So that might be today's daily poll because it's midnight on the 27th. So I'm going to get this video in the editing and my editing software, and then I'm going to render it out and hopefully get it uploaded today. I probably will. So let's see. So Mike plays games on PC, only on disk, and the launchers are internet required. Why isn't that an option? A very good point. So I'll probably, I want to do that daily poll. I'll keep the users like Mike in mind, however few they may be. So Twidget plays games on PC, will not use the featureless Epic launcher. Thomas says F Epic. That would be all, but the character limit will not. Oh, that would be all, but the character limit wouldn't let me. So he wanted to just say that comment, but he had to type out a little bit more to in order to get the comment, or to get the comment to post, or the reply to post, because comments are in post. That's how VBolden works. So Solus Ginger says, wakes up and then discovers Epic saying that someone tried to log into his account. There's no info, no IP, no country, because I've had an old Steam account that I don't use, because I made one Steam account, I couldn't log into it, and then I made another one, and then by the time I was able to log into my old one, I had already bought Steam games on the old one, so in the new one, so I just kept using that new one, and I left the old one as defunct, and people were trying to log into that one, and every time I would get that login, I would get the IP address, and it was some guy from Russia trying to log into that Steam account, which has absolutely nothing on it. So wouldn't understand why anyone would want to get into that Steam account. Soulless Ginger. Yeah, so when you get these emails, they look pretty alarming. They definitely are. So the only thing that Epic says is like, someone tried to log into your account, use 2FA. It doesn't explain anything. Looks like propaganda for a two-step authentication. Maybe he's being paranoid. Well, I wouldn't say getting two-step authentication it's definitely not a bad idea, especially if you have your financial information on your account. I would recommend having two-step authentication on there for security. I don't think it's something you can propagandize. I think it's a legitimately good feature that is good account security. Of course, it's not definitive because if you're a hacker and you really want to get into someone's account, they can just call up your phone company, get your SIM card, and then fake out your 2FA like that, or they can hack into your phone and so it's not a definitive safe way. With security, security doesn't protect absolutely. You can only put up, you can only sort of, wear suits of armor, and that's, it's going to protect you, but you can always, if you wear a bulletproof vest, it's only one or two bullets before the next few will, do you in to be, I don't want to say the K word, YouTube doesn't like that. So, Bella says, I have used the Epic Launcher only for free games. Otherwise, she uses Steam and the Humble Store because I try not to get anything unless it's on sale, which it's a good thing. You get games on sale, especially the Humble Store. You can pay like monthly, like 13 or so bucks a month to get games, and I paid that 1 month to get Dark Souls 3. So I got Dark Souls 3 for like 13 bucks and a whole slew of other games for free. And that was like 1 month, and I got Dark Souls 3 on the really cheap, and I got it along with a bunch of other stuff. So Humble Store is a great service. I really like it a lot. I don't necessarily like it being owned by 2K, but a lot of the money goes to charity, which is a good thing. So, moving on to the 12th daily poll, which is if you use Game Pass. And this one is a slew. And I did this because Game Pass, Microsoft's been picking up steam, and around this time, people were, theorizing and I said, there were rumors flying around that Microsoft wants to bring Game Pass to platforms other than PC and Xbox. So there's rumors about Game Pass being on the Switch. There's rumors about it being on the PlayStation. And it coming to iOS and Android devices, which would be interesting. And I'm not sure if Game Pass would be iOS, because Apple is doing Apple Arcade, which is essentially their version of Game Pass, and they're going to be doing it on all their devices. And I could probably make a whole video about Apple Arcade and talking about that. So look out for that one. And if you like this content and you want to watch me rant about my polls and other things in the industry, then subscribe. And if you like this video, then like it. But let's move on to the results of this. So this one, 48 people voted on it. I'm a current Game Pass member. 5 people said that. Former paid Game Pass member. That's what I said. There was a promotional deal with PayPal. If you bought a month of Game Pass in I think it was October or something like that, you would get 2 months of Game Pass. So it's essentially 2 months of Game Pass. It was a buy one get one free deal. So that's why I bought into it. And I only played State of Decay 2, and I didn't really like it. So some people are former free trial Game Pass, but here's the one. Most people, they can use Game Pass, but they choose not to. So I was the one that got the most percentage. It was still the minority at 41, but pretty close to being the majority. And the exact quarter said they don't own a system as Game Pass, not interested, and then very few people would either try out the free trial or become a paid member. And these were the 2 options I'm interested in the most. Because if Game Pass went onto other systems, how many users would they get? Obviously, only 48 people. It's not a definitive poll size. So if Game Pass were to come to, let's say, the Switch and the PS4, that's about 130 something million. Well, not exactly, but let's say that's over 100 million people. That's not exactly 100 million, but we could say that's definitely over 50 million people. that they could possibly reach. It's there's multiple people who own Switch and PC. There's multiple people who own PC and PS4, and there's multiple people on PS4 and Xbox or Switch and Xbox. So it's not going to be an exact number, but it's going to be millions of people. So and 48 isn't a big sample size. So Timulsion says only has N64 and GameCube, so he doesn't have to suffer through the issues that his fellow gamers do. Boltra is not interested in the Xbox brand. Would only be interested in Forza. I know you have a PC, Bolta, so I would avoid buying any sort of Xbox. If you want to play out Forza, pay the $10 for Game Pass or however many euros it is, since you live in Europe, Bolta, and try out Forza, because that is the most friendly way for you to get the game, I would say. So if you want to try out Forza, just try it out on Game Pass for like $10, and you can play it for like a month. And if you like it, then you can keep playing it. If you don't, then you don't. So Thomas says, "What is this public transport? You want a game? Buy it." So Mike, so Mike here's Mike just talking about how he had the original Xbox, didn't like playing Halo multiplayer because it wasn't good as Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, in his opinion. And he doesn't like the 360 because the console designs look bad, which I can't necessarily disagree with. I mean, I had the 360. I played a lot of 360 games, so I have a lot nostalgia for that system. But the 360 was a really poorly designed system. Like Microsoft had spent $1 billion just to fix up their mistakes with the Xbox 360. And the first console being called the One, and all the stuff that they did definitely killed a lot of appeal. But I still got one. Well, I got one for Christmas because I was an Xbox fanboy. But but with how few Xbox games came out, I just stick to playing Civilization 5 on my PC at that time. So he doesn't have Game Pass, and he's not interested in that discless system. So and you only be interested you would only buy a discless Xbox if it came preload with a bunch of games, which I think the discless Xbox, if it comes out, it's rumored to come out with like Minecraft and Sea of Thieves. So not a lot, definitely not enough to get you on board. So I think to get you on board with a discless Xbox, it'd have to have like 20 to 30 games, which I don't think Microsoft's willing to ship a system with enough hard drive space and the games on top of that. I don't think Microsoft would do that. So they probably have 2 or 3 games, like maybe a Minecraft, maybe a State of Decay. Mad Mommy doesn't want subscription services, period. So there we go. WC's been pretty active, and he gets a lot of use out of Game Pass. He played through 2 of the best games of 2018. Below and Mutant Year Zero. He likes to play Forza, and he would play Crackdown 3 at release. Checked out Fallout 4 and Doom in 4K instead of rebuying them when I got an Xbox One in November. Went straight through the whole Gears and Halo series, and finally played through the whole Modern Tomb Raider series the last month on it. Never could fit in buying those. He gets a lot of OG and 360 stuff too. Some stuff that ranges to 5 to 25. Used at my local shops, and I never owned an Xbox in any gen, so it's finally need to check out stuff he missed or see performance differences they had, since they often had the best multiplats even back in the day. Yeah, with early PS3 and 360 games, it was really apparent how much better the 360 was for developers compared, because the PlayStation 3 cell processor was so hard for developers to wrap their head around, and once developers got their heads wrapped around it, then PS3 games were much better, were as good as 360 games. But for like the early 360 days, there was definitely a quality discrepancy, for sure. So Dubsy's he definitely still applies buying stuff he's hyped for day one, but he never has a whole burning his wallet feeling, and I don't buy stuff he really needs. So it's been a good thing. So Dubsy gets a lot of use out of Game Pass. So I think Game Pass is a good thing, and they're adding stuff to it all the time, and they're doing lots of things, but it's definitely something that's more geared towards the Xbox user and not the PC user. Like I think Microsoft really needs to get the Xbox 360. If Microsoft could get the Xbox 360 emulator running on PC and bring a bunch of 360 games to PC and do it exclusively to Game Pass, or they could have it on Game Pass along with you just buying it separately, you could get so many people buying into Game Pass. It would be ridiculous. So let's see. Yeah, so Angry Peanuts is basically very sad that we're banning physical media, which it's the way the industry is going, and it's essentially inevitable. And I don't like it either, but this is the way things are going. It's more convenient. Games will have a longer lifespan, and there's some advantages to it. There's also disadvantages to it. So I'll be sad when GameStop closes. I will be sad. I won't be surprised. I don't necessarily think they're a good company, but it'll just be indicative of it being an end of an era that I don't really want to end. But it's just the way, it's essentially, the way music goes. Like, do you know anyone aside from, like, random hipsters who listen to music on vinyl? It's exactly, most people stream music nowadays. Most people don't even buy music digitally, like downloading it locally to their phones. I buy, that's the whole thing. But, no, a lot of industries are changing because of the internet, and gaming is definitely one of them. So, but let's go into Daily Poll 13, and since this one was done on the day Captain Marvel came out, which I saw, and I didn't really like it all that much, I asked, have you played a game with Marvel characters? And most people, almost 3/4 of you, said yes. A few people said no, and some people said they played some with other superhero characters. So Merlin says Spider-Man 2 is a legendary game. I've only played the PS4 version of Spider-Man, but I've heard lots of good things. And there's actually a whole video of the guy who made Spider-Man 2 playing this PS4 version of Spider-Man. It's really cool. If you just search like Spider-Man 2 Devs Play Spider-Man PS4, it's a good video. I'd check it out. I'll try and link it. I'll try and link it in the video, in the description of this video. So Ragnarok says he played Marvel Nemesis, spent hours playing as Spider-Man and Paragon. Paragon was overpowered as hell, though. Buckle Mighty says no Marvel games, tried some of the Batman games. I love the Batman games, never played Knight because I have a PC. But the funny story is I didn't pre-order Arkham Knight, and I thought, woo, I avoided the crappy game, and then I pre-ordered No Man's Sky. So, Bolta 666 says, as far as I remember, the only games he played with Marvel characters were several Spider-Man games, PS1 and PS2. His favorite game, and the games in general are fun. Yeah, Spider-Man is a really good character. I like him a lot. And Deadpool as well. I have a Deadpool shirt, and I like it a lot. I love the first Deadpool movie, but the second Deadpool movie wasn't as good. But it's like a typical thing with sequels. Spider-Man on the PS4 is a great game, and the character Spider-Man is great in that, and Tom Holland in the MCU as Spider-Man is really, really fun. You also got Jon Favreau as Happy, which is a really fun dynamic to see, but that's me nerding out about Spider-Man Homecoming. Let's see, Charlemagne, Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube, so break it out now and then. Get Out of Here, Marvel vs. Capcom, Modern Spider-Man for PlayStation, bow down to the Master Signer. Let's see, so Charlemagne says, oh yeah, I read that one before. So Mad Mummy says he doesn't like comic book universes because they're not realistic, which that's the point, Mad Mummy. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but that is like the literal point, is to be fantasy. It's like, I don't know, it's sort of like saying like, oh, I don't like Doom because hell isn't real. Like, okay, I mean. And he does bring up a good point that option 2 and 3 in this poll are essentially the same, so I could have phrased that. I could have removed one poll option. It would have been exactly the same. So I did sort of make that mistake when making this poll. I make a lot of these polls pretty late at night. That doesn't excuse me making mistakes, but it explains why I make the mistakes. Let's see. So Irritable Squid says Spider-Man 2. So most people who've played Marvel have played some sort of Spider-Man game. From the impression that I'm getting, the only Marvel games I played has been a Spider-Man game, and then I played a Fantastic Four game on the PS4, the GameCube. I think it was one of the few games I ever rented from Blockbuster. Do you remember Blockbuster? I remember Blockbuster. I was really young when Blockbuster was around, but I remember, I think the two games I rented were the Fantastic Four game and a Rugrats game for the GameCube. Well, yeah, moving on to the last one, Daily Poll 14. Do you buy DLC? This one was a really boring poll. I don't think the topic was good, and the options, the options really, reflect that. Most people like, I'll only buy DLC for games I really enjoy. Most people do that. So Schizo is like doing a lot of research. He'll buy DLC. Yes, very few. And expansion packs. I love expansion packs because, boy, I gotta agree, the expansion packs are awesome. Reckoning says the only if it's on sale option. That would be a. So this is a whole, boring thing. I would say so. Balta points out not great. Very rarely buys DLC even on games I like. I'm the same way. Like most games, I'll see that they'll have DLC, and especially like with Wolfenstein. Like Wolfenstein 2. I beat that game. I played 24 hours of it. I don't have any desire to spend any more time and money on it. I might replay that series when the third one comes out to go through like the second version of the storyline because it's got two, so it's got some replay value. But that's a whole thing. So Zoltar only buys DLC if the base game is clearly a complete game, which I have to agree on that one. Like, if you make a complete, like me buying DLC, it has to be a game that's complete. And the said game is amazing on its own to begin with. I think Zoltar's got a good mindset, and he contributes to the daily polls a lot. So, yeah, I think that's been it for the second episode of Poll Review. So, so I've recorded this a bunch of times. So sorry if I was like quick or I made some mistakes or anything like that. I've recorded this a bunch of times, and hopefully this take is a good take. But if you've watched this far, I really appreciate it. If you watch the other poll review, then I appreciate that as well. And if you like this, video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to join the conversation on the daily polls, then join the Exclusively Game forum. I'll link to the most recent daily poll, and I will link to every daily poll in that I talked about in this poll review. So if you want to join the forum, just click any one of those links. You'll be taken to the forum right away. You can make an account. It's pretty easy to do. It doesn't cost you anything, and then you can comment in every daily poll. I'll welcome your votes, your feedback, and I'm very, very thankful for. I'm very thankful for any engagement that if you choose to do it. If you want to participate and you want to, if you want to participate and engage in the daily polls, and that's more than enough. Be very thankful for that. But for now, I'm going to sign off, and I will see you guys in the next video. So, bye.
Have you been searching all along, confessing twilight on, without the clue, without a sign, without grasping it, the real question.